On motion of Board Member France, seconded by Board Member Hall, the Board of Education voted to approve a settlement agreement in lieu of formal litigation. This agreement was established in lieu of formal initiation of litigation to provide the student with compensatory educational services in exchange for a full resolution of issues through the date of this agreement. The vote on that was 4 in favor, none opposed, with 1 member absent. We will be returning into closed session partway through open session here because we were not able to complete all of our business, but we didn't want to keep you all waiting. We have opportunity on our agenda for public comment, which we will have shortly. If you want to speak on public comment, you're welcome to fill out a card and speak on any item that is not on the agenda. If we have less than 10 cards, which I believe we do, you'll be afforded 3 minutes to make your comments. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, you may do so as well by filling out one of these cards and letting us know. We'll call you at that agenda item. If we have less than 10 speakers, then you will be afforded 3 minutes to speak. If there's more than 10 speakers, you'll have 90 seconds. I think we are getting to our most important item of the day, which I think is why most of you are here, and that's our recognition of the 2023 nominees for Placer County Teacher of the Year. Rob, are you leading us?
Being able to recognize our Teachers of the Year obviously is a special occasion, and these teachers that we're going to introduce to you tonight are no exception to our years past. They're incredible teachers, and before we get going with the recognitions for our school site Teachers of the Year, we want to take just a quick minute to thank the family and friends and loved ones who showed up tonight as we recognize and honor and celebrate our school site Teachers of the Year, as well as our Roseville Joint Union High School District Teachers of the Year. So thank you. The opportunity to say thank you to all of our Teachers of the Year. Your tireless work, your dedication and passion for teaching is what makes the Roseville Joint Union High School District a truly special place. Your care and attention to the needs of each of our students will leave an indelible mark on each of them and future generations to come. And you have left an indelible mark on our district as a whole. So once again, thank you to the Teachers of the Year for 23-24 Teachers of the Year. What you're going to notice on the plaques that we're going to hand to each of our Teachers of the Year is that it says 23-24 Teacher of the Year. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that's not a mistake. This is, we are early in the process, and just for those in the audience and our board members, the way that this process works is that the districts select their Teachers of the Year, and there are two of our Teachers of the Year that we've selected in our district out of our 7 that will move forward to the Placer County Teacher of the Year. And if one of our teachers were selected, then they would move on to the State Teacher of the Year recognition process. And so this process actually goes far into spring, so really these teachers are actually our 23-24 Teachers of the Year. Hope that makes sense. I know it's a little bit confusing since we're not anywhere near 23-24 quite yet. Let me make sure I go. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and think critically. Intelligence plus character, that's the ultimate goal of education." The teachers that we're recognizing this evening understand the importance of intelligence and character, not just the education piece of it. One of the best days of the year for me personally, and I know for the staff that were a part of interviewing this group, is being able to listen to their stories, listen to what they do day in and day out with our students, how hard they work, and the creative ways that they reach into the minds and the hearts of our students. As a district, we're truly blessed to have these folks, and they understand and truly, we get to truly special opportunity to see some of the very best teachers in our district when we do these interviews. They come with a wealth of professional understanding of effective pedagogy. They understand what it means to get into into the trenches with their students and get their hands dirty on the daily work needed to move our students forward. And finally, we get to see the heart and the passion that they have for our students. It's also been said that one child, one teacher, and one book, one pen can change the world. Our 2023-2024 Teachers of the Year embody and understand the importance of time spent working with one student, helping to make a difference in their lives. It's our pleasure to introduce our school site and Roseville Joint Union High School District Teachers of the Year. And our first nominee from Antelope High School, please welcome Kaylina Moore and Principal Lindsay Cutts. You can do it whichever way you want.
Oh my goodness.
Where am I supposed to be? I don't know. I have to start off by saying that Kalina's an absolute rock star. She was a steal. I don't know how we ended up with her, but we were so lucky. She joined Antelope High School in 2018. She teaches Project Lead the Way Biomed, and she's our CTE department chair. She does a ton on campus. She's a club advisor for our Biomed Club, which puts on blood drives every year. She's a member of our Sunshine Committee, which is a group of staff members really committed to increasing our positive staff culture on campus. Through COVID, somehow she managed to increase enrollment in the Biomed program, which is an app. I don't know how she did it, but you look at the numbers and we had more kids involved in that program through COVID. She oversees our internship program, which is something really unique and kind of a capstone for Antelope High School. So every year, 30 to 40 students are placed in medical industry internships. Kalina makes all of that happen, which is pretty amazing. So she does a lot on campus, but really where Kalina shines is in the classroom. If you want to see kids completely engaged, hands-on, just loving what they're doing, it's Kalina's classroom. So she's created that. We are lucky to have her. Congratulations, Kalina. In the middle. Kalina in the middle.
Let me push this back. Congratulations.
Teacher of the Year from Granite Bay High School, please welcome Myron Stevens and Principal Greg Sloan.
Here's
How Myron normally looks. Well, Myron Stevens here has taught in the Roseville Joint Union High School District for 30 years. After starting his teaching career at Roseville High, he helped open Granite Bay as a founding art teacher. Award-winning visual art that doesn't look like it came from a high school student. There's a maturity in his students that is rare to see at this age. He teaches combined classes that include Art 3, 4, AP Studio Art, IB Visual Arts, SL, and HL in the same room.
and one. Right.
Yeah. In other periods, but that's all just one class that I just mentioned here together. He does this in multiple periods each year, balancing the teaching, the skill development, and individualized art projects that pushes students to level up in their work as well as earn college credits. He is the Visual Arts Department Chair and has a vision for art education. Myron has announced his retirement at the end of this school year, and I can say it is simply impossible to replace him. He has the respect and admiration of the Granite Bay staff, students, and community, and we're proud to recognize him as Teacher of the Year.
Is this too much affection?
Perfect amount.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Our next Teacher of the Year from Oakmont High School, please welcome Teacher of the Year nominee, Teacher of the Year, Christine Rossmiller and Principal Isabel Govea.
I will say, I don't know if I don't think, but yeah. This is my second year at Oklahoma High School, and I think into the future, retire from this district one day, I will definitely say that I owe my success in large part to this wonderful teacher. She challenges me in great ways, not in bad ways. She has been really critical in the success I've had thus far, and I always appreciate it. So thank you. But I do have something prepared. Christine, pillar of Oakmont High School, Pi Sigma. As the AP coordinator and a leader on campus, she is trusted by her peers and is respected for her integrity and her commitment to being solution-oriented, always seeking out different perspectives and considering all stakeholders, with students always at the heart of all that she does. As a teacher, she cares deeply about her students and in preparing them to become thoughtful and active citizens. Intelligent, passionate, dedicated, stubborn sometimes, always telling me, no, I'm like, okay, and ever focused on making Oakmont a better place. Oakmont is lucky to have this powerhouse of a leader in our OHS family, and I am extremely proud to call myself her principal, as opposed to her being my teacher. I'm her principal, and I'm super excited.
West Park High School, please welcome Teacher of the Year, Malia Kaloma Smith, and Principal Becky House.
I also want to point out that Malia has another really important role. Her daughter is one of our school board reps, and she was one of the ones at Antelope High School and represented our school and our district really well. So Kamea is Malia's daughter, so that's her most important role. But now I'll talk about her school role. She has other kids too, sorry, she didn't leave your other kids out. Malia joined us last year, at the beginning of last year, and we could not be more, we are so fortunate to have her on our campus. She's done amazing work already. We're proud to recognize Malia Kaloma Smith as West Park High School's 2023 Teacher of the Year. Ms. Kaloma Smith brings an abundance of teaching experience to her position by providing opportunities for all students to engage with the social science curriculum. In addition to her contributions to students in social science, she also challenges students to think critically with varying perspectives in our ethnic studies course. Ms. Kaloma Smith provides a dynamic, learner-driven environment for all students, and her leadership does not stop there. She oversees 3 different clubs on campus, including Key Club, Asian American Pacific Islander Club, and Speech and Debate. She is beloved by both students and staff, and we are honored to recognize her exemplary achievements so far. We know there's so much more to come at West Park High School. Congratulations. I know.
Congratulations.
And from Wood Creek High School, please welcome Teacher of the Year, Paul Hayes, and Principal Sue Ann Bell.
Introduce Paul Hayes as our Teacher of the Year. Most of you know him. He's an engaging educator who applies real-world applications to all of his classes for all of his students. He's one of those teachers that his students just love to come to his classes, all of them, every time I'm in there. He's also extremely well respected at Wood Creek and in the district for his work with RSCA, as you all know, and for supporting all staff. He's the kind of guy that makes everybody better and who brings everybody in the district together as well. One of his colleagues wanted to say a few words, so I'm going to share some words from Lisa Edmiston. High school, I've seen you make an exceptional difference in and out of the classroom. Paul, you're truly an incredible educator and a colleague. This is long overdue and very, very well deserved. From your inspirational teaching to your innovation in creating, supporting meaningful courses, to your bringing new technology resources into the classroom, to your forward-thinking leadership as department chair and testing coordinator, thank you, to your phenomenal care, concern, support, encouragement of our staff, all of our staff of the district, with your everyday interactions as well as your work with the union, especially during the past couple challenging years you do on our campus and to our district. But from all of us, Paul, there are no words to describe how lucky we all really are to work with you, alongside you. We appreciate your kindness, we appreciate your leadership, your thoughtfulness, your friendship, I do especially. And there's one last thing I have to say. You may never retire. I'm serious.
Our first Roseville Joint Union High School Teacher of the Year from Roseville High School, please welcome Adriana Brooks and Principal Nick Richter.
So I want to start off by saying, first of all, how lucky are all of you to get to meet Adriana? And by the way, whenever I call her, that's exactly how she answers the phone. How lucky are you to be talking to me right now? So, and as one of our and teachers, what I mean by that is she's our ELD department coordinator, and she's one of our instructional coaches, and she's my school site chair, and she was a leader in the EL Rise program, and she hosts quarterly EL academic celebrations. And here's the real goods. She's a caring, dynamic, amazingly enthusiastic teacher. I want to give you just one example of the hallmark of her class, which is engagement. I was a math teacher, so I read Great Gatsby, but I didn't think I could ever want to get in an argument about the Great Gatsby. And I joined her class one day. And the argument was who was the most evil and despicable character in the book. And she had the kids line up who they thought was the most evil and despicable character. And it was the most teenagers arguing about Great Gatsby. But that's just a Adriana Brooks is one of our teachers. Thank you.
And our final Teacher of the Year and second RJUHSD Teacher of the Year, please welcome Mike Morales and Principal Ross Fernandez.
Mike is Roseville Pathways Teacher of the Year. Mike joined the Pathways team this year after having over a decade of success as a math teacher and football coach over at Antelope High School. When he decided to join the Pathways team, he doesn't know this, but the entire staff was ecstatic. Some people were actually like jumping up and down and running through the actual halls, especially Officer 2. I am 1 and I am 2. Opened a weight program and coached the Adelante football team. In the first month of school, students not only flocked to the actual weight program, but he did a remarkable job of getting the students to not just buy into the culture of the program, but they also then started to understand the academic success you have to achieve in order to stay on the program, and he also on how to work on it as a cohesive team. Wasn't enough, Mike is currently developing sports medicine CTE and enrollment program with Sierra College that will begin in August for students across the district. But to truly reflect Mike's impact, our instructional coach, Carol Pryor had this to say about Mike. If I had to describe Mike in one word, it would be authentic. From the first day of class, he meets students where they are and begins forming relationships that are mutually respectful as he was told to do it because it's good practice, which it is, but because it is who he is at his core. Whether in the classroom, the gym, or the playing field, Mike teaches with humor, skill, flexibility, and kindness. The students feel teacher, co-worker, and coach because of him. Mike is a Pathways teacher and colleague, and I speak for many when I say I am grateful for the opportunity to work with him. That's all.
Stand tall. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
Once again, say thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate this incredible group of educators in our district. If we can give them one more round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the entire board, I want to thank each of you and congratulate you on your awards tonight. It's teachers like you that make our district such a wonderful place. Thank you very much. We will now move on to our next item, which is, and teachers, you don't have to stay for the board. You're dismissed. And I didn't mean to say that Jessica was boring, but we are now ready for the RSEA report. Or Natalie, are you coming?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, first off, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I will work on some of my speech. I tend to get excited. So, what I want to address is that we really appreciate the board workshop. It was my first one, and I found that the conversations that were going on were fantastic, and we really, really appreciated the teacher panel. And we encourage that you, if you have any questions moving forward, we would just please continue to reach out to those sites, ask us for help. If you want to email us directly, like, hey, do you know anybody who would know these answers? We are really wanting to help with that. It's our bread and water, and so appreciated that. And thought it was fantastic. Well, wanted to continue on those conversations. Negotiations is about to gear up. We're super excited, and we hope they're looking forward to another collegial negotiations. And then finally, of course, is want to say congratulations to the teachers. It is a lot of them I've worked with, and it's a very proud moment to see the shine of what brings excellence to our district. So thank you for your time. Enjoy the evening.
Wow, that was quick. Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is board comment, and for those of you who've come to many of our meetings, usually this is the very last item on the agenda, and there's no one here. So we decided to move it up so that at least you could hear some of the thoughts of the board and some of the things the board has been doing in the district and will be doing in the district. I'll start off. Thank you very much, everyone, for supporting me to be the board president this year. I'm really looking forward to a year where our meetings are productive and respectful. I was very happy with our board workshop. I know I heard from a number of people on all sides of the issue that were happy with the process, and I think that you'll find that that will be the direction we'll be taking, particularly on some of these bigger, more complicated and often controversial issues that we may be tackling over the next year. There's been a number of items that we have been very successful as a board or as an institution in kicking cans down the road for a number of years on some of these big issues. And my goal this year is to make sure that we address all of those so that we can, number one, hear from everybody on all sides of the issues. Number two, hopefully get on a path to resolution to a number of those issues. And then most importantly, is get back to the business of making sure that we're teaching our students every day and moving our district forward. So I'm looking forward to all that. For all the principals, I know I haven't been out on campus yet, but I'll be reaching out to you this week to start getting our schedules set up to be out at all the different campuses and talk about what you'd like to see as we move forward as a board into this year. So with that, I'll now turn it over to my colleagues if you have any board comments that you would like to make on your activities since the last time we met. Start with Heidi.
I'm excited that you moved the board comments to earlier. I missed the teachers by like 2 minutes because my comment was for them. But I agree, they should get to go home. But I just was gonna congratulate the teachers, and I too was in a Great Gatsby lesson one day in Adriana Brooks' class, and the lesson was just really dynamic and fun. And one of us, I forget who on the tour with me, learned what the word slay means. Was that you, Dr. Richter? Yeah, because the kids had to write on cards, you know, one descriptive word to describe Great Gatsby, and one of the kids wrote slay, S-L-A-Y. That's like that's a word, and and she just had a great and dynamic and really engaging class. I was excited to see her win that today, and it was a good reminder that I need to schedule more school visits now that we're back in the new semester too, so maybe I can tag team with you.
Sounds good.
Anyway, congratulations to the teachers that are out in the parking lot now.
Well, congratulations to the teachers who've left. But speaking of the teachers, Jessica, after the great panel, which I also enjoyed a couple weeks ago, she suggested board members come out and chat with the teachers, either before school, drop in, no obligation. So I'm taking her up in Roseville High School. Ms. Director, maybe you know, I don't know. On Monday, during first lunch. And so if someone wants to join me, just one, Brown Act issues, but I will stop. Just we're working it out right now. So okay, all right, great. So you're invited, one of you, if you would like to join. So.
Thank you. And our newest board member, Lou.
Yes, hello. I'm excited to see all the principals here. It's my first time seeing them all in the same place. So I look forward to meeting you all and visiting your campus. In fact, last week I visited Antelope and walked the campus with Principal Lindsay. It was really a nice tour, and I got to learn about some of the pathways that they have there. So I look forward to doing that at the other campuses and learning, and perhaps meeting with some of your teachers. Maybe I'll take you over your offer on Monday. So excited to be here.
Great. Thank you. Now we'll move on to our superintendent.
Yeah, so again, congratulations to our Teachers of the Year. It's kind of cool, and I think 3 or 4 of them I remember seeing their application and sitting down and interviewing them. And now you see the great things 5, 10, 12 years later for some. That's really cool to see that development and who they've become. It's a great group of teachers, very dynamic in what they do, and very diverse in what they do. So that was really, really cool. Just returned today from the Access Superintendent Symposium. Spent a couple days down there. You know, a lot of good conversations, camaraderie, some good sessions. But the best takeaway in my second year going to this is we have it pretty darn good, and our worst day is so much better than all of those other districts. It's always just a relief. We have good people, good board, good community to work with, and that's always kind of my biggest takeaway when I'm coming home is we have it pretty good. And so I always appreciate that getting validated down there. So that's it.
Thank you. And we have our 2 student board members with us, Saba and Autumn. Thank you for being with us tonight. For those of you who may not have been at the curriculum and instruction workshop, I think it was an excellent opportunity to see the quality of our student board members and their thoughtful comments and how they approach their work on our school board. We're very lucky to have you here tonight, and as you know, we want you to opine on all of the issues. This is your opportunity to bring us up to date on what's going on in your little corner of our district world.
Okay, Thank you. So as for last quarter, since I've been here, Roseville was working a lot on Toys for Tots just to kind of get things back to pre-COVID, because it got really interrupted during COVID because we couldn't go to the sites and give kids the presents that we used to be able to. So we donated presents to the TK kindergarten, first grade classrooms at Kirby Elementary. It went really successful, and it was just really nice to see like us being able to connect with kids again. I think it's a great way to outreach. We also hosted an interleague, which allowed both activity directors and students to collaborate and just talk about how we can better our schools. Around 20 schools participated, and it was really good, and we got a lot of good ideas, and it was really nice to, similar to the pre-COVID stuff, just be around a bunch of people. It was really fun. As for this quarter, besides just having back to school night and all that business, we're planning our upcoming winter dance. It's Yule Ball themed, and it's next Saturday. We're also having a Spirit Week and a rally, and just like I said, having stuff not be conflicted with COVID is really nice. And besides that, I'm looking forward to what the LCAP Advisory Committee is going to do with our school, and that's all from me. Thank you.
So for Wood Creek, we are currently preparing for our Pride of the Pack night, which is our annual showcase of like different clubs and activities that our school offers for incoming freshmen to take a look at and kind of preview to see what they will want to sign up for next year. And so basically there's going to be tables all in the stadium. Parents can come ask questions. So that's next week. And we also have our National Honor Society hosting the Me1 Talent Show. And Me1 is a foundation that holds camp retreats for cancer patients and their families. And all the proceeds from the talent show will go to this program, which is awesome. And I'd also like to mention that our January Club of the Month is Key Club, and they work really closely with like volunteering at schools or organizations. And I also work closely with the school Key Club, so I'm super proud of them for being Club of the Month. And our girls soccer is doing really well. I think they're ranked second in the San Joaquin section. And our spring sports will start up next month, so everything's going really good.
Wonderful. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we are now going to move into just general communications. Do we have any communications you'd like to share with us?
Yes, we received communications from Placer County Office of Education. They reviewed our first interim budget report from Mr. Landon, and they just wanted to concur our positive certification and approval of our first interim.
Thank you. Next is committee reports. At our last meeting, we just reorganized our committees. I don't believe any committees have met since then, so I don't believe we have any committee reports tonight. We'll now move on to public comment. I have a number of cards here. As I call you up, you'll have an opportunity. This, again, is for items not on our agenda, so if you have an issue that you'd like to bring to our attention that is not on our agenda, this is the time. You still have time to fill out a card. Our first speaker will be Tamara Mahmood, followed by Michael Sullivan. Yeah, we do have seats up front. They have name tags, but those are old, so come on in and you can fill in the seats. Don't be shy. Come on in. All right, Tamara.
All right, well, good evening to the board. Obviously, I'd like to recognize our teachers as well, so it's really nice to be here for this evening. And I'd also like to recognize the student representatives. They did such a great job at the workshop, so we really appreciate you speaking on behalf of the teachers. And now I would ask the rest of the board to do the same. I found it very disheartening at the last meeting how teachers were likened to groomers. I don't think that's appropriate. I think it's sowing unnecessary mistrust, and it's an unfair accusation, and I think you guys should make a public comment to support our teachers. That's it. Thank you.
Michael Sullivan, followed by Meg Weiss. Michael, are you here? And twice? No Michael. All right. Meg Weiss, followed by Michelle Tong.
Hi there. I'm speaking again tonight because I received no response from my previous email to the board. I want to commend the district for putting teachers at the forefront of the curriculum workshop on January 12th. I want to acknowledge the professionalism and expertise of the panel of informed, knowledgeable, passionate, and dedicated teachers. And along with the teachers that were with great grace and poise in the face of aggressive, slanderous, and demoralizing accusations from some of our community. When parents make unfounded attacks on our teachers as a group, that's a time for the board members to take note. Every time you hear a comment that disparages them as a group, I hope you will see it as violence against them. Parents destroy the reputation of public schools as an institution. At each board meeting, you have an opportunity to make comment. Please use some of that time to stand up for educators and for public schools. I believe it's within the scope of your responsibilities as board members in a public school district. Speak directly to the lies that suggest teachers as a group are grooming our kids. The claims are baseless, and I'm not sure why parents have to be the ones pointing this out. At the same kids are being abused at a school setting, she's used the already established processes to file such serious complaints. I believe this will go a long way in making it clear that in our district, students are safe and public school teachers are valued as the professional partners that you rely on to do the work of educating every child. It also reasserts that public schools, and specifically our district, continues to be the single best option for preparing students to become productive and engaged members of a diverse society. Please do more to protect our district.
Next speaker is Michelle Tong, followed by Jeff Gordon.
Congratulations to all of our teachers who were recognized tonight. That was wonderful. I'm so glad I was able to be here for that. And I'd like to thank the board for holding the curriculum workshop this month. I think we should commend our teachers for such a well thought out and educational presentation and how they chose to teach curriculum in their classes, especially in the face of being referred to as groomers and indoctrinators. I expect the board to comment on this I expected the board to comment on this either at the workshop or in a follow-up. The fact that you have been silent about the teachers being publicly slandered is wrong. Second, as you consider making policies regarding curriculum, once again, I implore you not to micromanage our teachers and not make policies with only one set of students in mind. I want my children to have a broad education and to learn in a safe space. Third, I would like to offer support for the piloting of the AP African American Studies. This is an important class for our students, and I think we should offer it in our district. Part of being a board member is advocating for rules and laws that are best for everyone, not just for the rules and laws that reflect what you individually want. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jeff Gordon, followed by Melissa McDonald.
Thanks for your time. On the topic of the recent workshop at Antelope High School, I'm both disappointed and embarrassed by this board for the lack of support for our education or for our educators when they were berated by those accusing them of grooming and indoctrinating our students. If nothing else, and until there's a firm resolution, this board needs to be seen as supporting the teachers to do the job for which they've been educated and trained to do rather than the opposite. Regarding the notion of a reduced reading list, let me remind all that have interest that our children can, without doubt, find in-depth discussion on the topics in question if they have a smartphone. Here's a passage from a book that I'm sure some would take offense to. Engaged in prostitution while she was still mine, and she lusted after her lovers, the Assyrians, warriors clothed in blue, governors and commanders, all of them handsome young men and mounted horsemen. She gave herself as a prostitute to all the elite of the Assyrians and defiled herself with all the idols of everyone she lusted after. She did not give up the prostitution she began in Egypt. When during her youth, men slept her, caressed her virgin bosom, and poured out their lust on her. Personally, I'd suggest that this is more risque than anything we can find on the reading list, but then I'd question if it's fine for our kiddos to be exposed to prostitution and sexual promiscuity from the Bible in church on Sunday as opposed to the classroom Monday through Friday. Thank you.
Final speaker under open forum is Melissa McDonald.
I just want to recognize our teachers also, even though they're not here, which I totally get. And I, like others in the community, are here tonight just to, I don't even express my personal offense and upset about how our teachers were spoken about last at the board workshop. I hate backseat drivers, and I know I'm a backseat driver board member here because I'm retired and I've sat where you sat, so I know exactly how you've been trained. I know exactly what you're supposed to do. The board's supposed to protect their educators, okay? That's what you're supposed to do. And when teachers are called, or accused rather, of grooming students for sexual abuse, when they are called predators, that's defamation, that's slander. It's horrifically offensive and accusatory. And I really would hope that you do release a statement in support of the teachers and condemning those kinds of comments. I couldn't help but sit back here, and I was applauding for all the teachers and loving the principals, all your personal introductions for them, and thinking that the board you're hypocrites. You can't sit here and applaud for teachers and not stand up for them when they're defamed publicly like that. And I just want to urge us to think about how we can be the district that forges a road forward. As you said, Pete, we're going to have contentious things come at us. I'm sick of fighting. I know you guys are sick of fighting. Could we please find a way to come together, talk through really difficult topics without offending and accusing teachers, so that we can, as you stated, get back to the business of the students. And I love the quote from MLK earlier. I thought it was incredibly poignant and relevant. We're trying to teach kids to think critically and to become active and engaged citizens. We can't do that without good teachers, and we can't do that without instructional materials and learning environments that provide those opportunities. Please show us how to go forward in a cordial, respectful, civil way. Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Unless somebody has a request to pull an item, we'll take this all as one item. Any requests to pull anything from the consent? Not seeing any. Would anyone like to offer a motion to approve consent agenda? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Oh wait, roll call vote. Heidi Hall?
Yes.
Marla Franz?
Yes.
Mila? Yes. Me? Yes. All right, that passes unanimously. We'll now go on to our information matters, starting with item 5.1, the Stop School Violence Grant.
So,
yeah,
I guess. So, the intent of this item is to give you a little bit of information about the Stop School Violence Grant that we were one of a small handful of schools across the country that were approved for this grant over the summer. The main focus of the grant is really for school districts to work on putting in proactive, preventative measures to stopping school violence before it happens, before it's too late. I know that several of you are well aware of the behavior threat assessment process that we have in place, as well as a lot of the work that we've done through our assistant principals, the Roseville Police Department, the local FBI agency, and all of those pieces that we've been working on over the year are designed to do exactly this. So this grant gives us the opportunity to continue to push that forward and to go even deeper and further with how we protect the students and staff in our district. Some of the focus areas for the grant, things that we can go after. Training for staff, that training also includes training for parents and students. We really want our parents and our students to understand what the behavior threat assessment process is all about.
how we work to make sure that our campuses are safe and secure for their students, and all the things that are going on behind the scenes that parents in our community may not be aware of. In addition to that, obviously continued training for our threat assessment teams, further development of our catapult system, which is an anonymous reporting system that we use in the district to get tips and information ahead of time. In conversations with our local FBI agents, that product is something that they are very impressed with, and they are seeing the fruits of that catapult system in our district and how we are able to respond in a timely manner ahead of anything happening on our campuses, because we're getting regular information from students, from parents, from our community members. So obviously that'll be a part of one of the things we continue to work on, as well as improving school climate, working with our SROs on additional training for them. We have a training scheduled for this summer with all of our school resource officers and several of our assistant principals as members of our behavior threat assessment team to get additional training, advanced training this summer. And finally, the development of our intervention teams and wellness centers. Specifically, just to kind of hit some of the areas, the grant is really designed for training. It's not for equipment. And if you look at really the 5 layers of what we really go after when it comes to school safety, this grant really hits 4 of the 5. It's really about that emergency management piece of it through the catapult, staff training through the SRO, National Resource Officers Association, that we'll be going to this summer, and trainings like that we do with our staff on an ongoing basis, along with exercises that we run. We do tabletop exercises at each of our schools, trying to predict things that may happen and working with our staff so that everybody understands what their role is and how we respond should there be an emergency on our campuses. In addition to that, it focuses on positive school climate. The one area that it does not cover is the hardware and software, so we can't use this funding for any kind of hardware or software. We're hopeful that this grant will springboard us into future grants that will give us that ability so that we can continue to bolster and fortify the hardware and software systems that we have in place. With that, I will take any questions, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank 3 people for this. Julie Winkle, assistant principal at Oakmont High School, Sheila Stein, who's one of our school psychologists, and Ken Nakamura, who's one of the Roseville Police Department officers who head up a lot of the work locally when it comes to school safety, and those folks that were really instrumental in getting this grant taken care of.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ralph?
Data or studies, where's the best place to put, you've got 5 layers, where's the best place to put the money for the most effective results?
Where's the best place to put it is probably, you're probably gonna get 6 different answers, but I think where most of the conversations that we've had with local FBI and RPD has been around the preventative measures and really finding ways to make sure that we're putting in resources through our wellness centers to try to make sure that we're wrapping around those kids. A lot of folks think that the behavior threat assessment process is a way to, target a student and kind of label them as the next, whatever you want to label it as. And really that's the exact opposite of what the behavior threat assessment process is. It's really more designed for us to try to identify what the needs are of a student before they get to any point where they might consider doing harm on a campus, either to others or to themselves. And in everything that we talk about with local law enforcement agencies, that's really where they suggest putting the resources, as well as that last piece that I mentioned, which is the training of our students and our parents, which is the next step for us, is really educating them. And so you'll start to see us moving in that direction where we're really educating the parents and kids. Hope that answers, but.
So most of our focus on the money. I'm just curious where the money will go.
It'll go into those areas.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, it'll go into those areas and identifying a staff member who would take on really leading that forward over the course of the next 3 years.
Comments from either members? Questions?
I'm very happy to see that you guys are doing a lot to help students like prevent it at the beginning with their mental health. It makes me happy. So.
I agree. I also feel like the catapult system is like a good way to show students, especially since our phones are at our fingertips at all times. I feel like that's been really effective, and I like to see that.
I agree.
I just want to say we are definitely sort of the leaders of the pack on this particular issue. I think we're one of the only if not the only school board that has a policy on behavioral threat assessment in our state. When I was at the school safety national conference in Las Vegas, none of the people there knew about it. It was all new information then. So we really are on the leading edge. So as we get deeper in this and feel comfortable, I think we should make sure that we're helping others understand the importance of this going forward. We do have one public speaker, so let me call up Shannon, is it? Yes, you did. Thanks, Shannon. Come on up.
Sorry, I wanted to speak on this topic because I was excited to hear it come up, actually, in a good way. I'm glad that it's going in a preventative mindset, and I hope that some of it is couched in the wellness centers. I missed a little bit of it because I like shot out to make sure I could say something and fill out the form. I volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, and they have a Students Demand Action at some of the schools and some chapters, and it's basically a nonpartisan nonprofit that works to educate communities on gun safety and work towards legislation that helps in that aspect. And there's two things I think that would be relevant for the school district if it hasn't come across their dockets already. So AB 452, I believe, was approved. It's legislation to require school districts to send home information about secure firearm storage. So I'd love to see some sort of statement come out in one of your newsletters. I don't know how you would distribute that. And also AB 988, the Miles Hall Lifeline and Suicide Prevention Act, legislating creating an implementation plan for a 988 mental health crisis line. So just please keep those two things as legislation-wise on top of mind and also prevention-wise top of mind. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know, Rob, you mentioned it, but I think a lot of credit goes to our local law enforcement agencies, specifically Roseville PD. Ken, particularly, who's, I know, done a lot of work, and our local FBI office that's been really engaged on this. So thank you very much. Anyone else before we let Rob go here? Or not go, but sit down.
I'll be here.
Okay. So we are going to then move on to our next item. Thank you, Rob. Our next item is item 5.2, the Roseville Joint Union High School District Core Textbook First Reading.
Yes.
April.
Thank you. So there's a course that has come through the process that will come forward for approval at a future board meeting, most likely early March because of our timeline in February. And that is for pre-AP English 9. That course needs a textbook. So before we bring the course forward for approval and before we approve any textbook, we put it on public display for approximately 30 days. And so that this is the announcement of that public display of the books and materials. They are at the school sites available for review for the next 30 days. And then the idea would be that public can actually complete and provide input upon review, or they're certainly welcome at the board meeting when it comes up for action. And so our intent would be to bring the course and the book together for action at the beginning of March at the board meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I just had one quick one. When I looked this up, Springboard seems to be sort of a platform of a number of different books. But what we're talking about here is just the AP English 9 one, or is it the whole Springboard?
No, correct. Just pre-AP English 9 specifically.
Any questions from anyone here? This is
All sites or just Roseville?
I believe we have it on display at all sites. The course is anticipated to be implemented at Roseville High School for the fall, but when we display materials, we typically do it all comprehensive schools, I'll say, not every single alternative school.
questions? Any board members, any questions? Okay, this is just an information item, so we'll see this again at some point in the future. To our next item, 5.3, annual LCAP metrics presentation. Is that, who's doing that? April, you doing it?
Here. Bring a bunch of data as an awareness piece for you. This somewhat coincides with the state's public school dashboard. So they have the California School Dashboard. So some of the information will be from there, as well as the main theme is our LCAP and our local metrics. How are we assessing our goals? Are we on track to making progress? And what does that look like? So as you watch and engage in the presentation, in addition to being aware
I'd like you to consider, are these the goals we care about? As you know, we're in year 2 of a 3-year plan, so we don't make major changes within a plan, but this time next year, we'll really be looking at confirming what do we want those goals and metrics to be for the next 3-year plan. So as you're considering and thinking about that, I would love to engage with you individually around your thoughts. I have the honor of working in depth with our LCAP advisory committee on this. We actually spend hours and hours going into this data. So I will do a very brief overview. There's a lot of information. Happy to stop and dialogue tonight, again, or separately. But our LCAP advisory committee is spending multiple evenings of 3 hours each, diving into this, making sense of it, and helping to inform us as well as we go forward. So with that, we always ground our work in our mission to ignite, inspire, and prepare all students for their future after high school, whatever that may be, college, career, and life. And of course, this is also in context of the board's vision statement that we work under. Our 3-year LCAP plan has 4 specific goal areas that were set about 2.5 years ago. College, career, life readiness, academic achievement, equity, inclusion, like access as well in there, and student and parent engagement. So in each of these areas, we have goals and metrics, data that we gather to see how are we doing and are we making progress. In addition, the state has specific metrics that we must review, some of them at the local level, some of them that they publish. So this is just kind of a quick overview. They have the 3 categories: conditions of learning, pupil outcomes, engagement. Within there are 8 different subcategories, and then each of those 8 areas have metrics. So I'm not going to talk about each one of these, but in these 3 areas on the slide under conditions of learning, these are considered local indicators. We assess them annually, and we bring this to you in June. And that timeline is set by the state, and it's approved, and that conversation happens at the same time that the LCAP is approved, but we review that annually. The second of the 3 main categories is pupil outcomes, and many of these we'll be looking at tonight. How are we doing on these metrics for pupil outcomes? And then engagement. The parent involvement is a local indicator that we bring to you in June, and then the other 2 are part of the dashboard that we will not be spending a lot of time on tonight, but again, we're happy to engage on these data sets. There's a lot of information out there and a lot of ways to see how we are supporting students in additional areas of improvement. So who are we serving? We are providing data predominantly from last school year. That is intentional to coincide with the state certified data. So the state on the school dashboard, this is a screenshot of, it's at casschooldashboard.org. You can get a glimpse of our students. Approximately 10,500 students, 23% are low income, socioeconomically disadvantaged, 3.9 English learners, and well under 1% foster youth. Those 3 groups of students are called out in particular because that is what the extra funding we get for LCAP is targeted to support the education and wellness of these 3 groups. What's great is that we can use it for all students, and we do. We stretch that. We work very thoughtfully to ensure that we're doing well for all students. But our supplemental funding that we get in LCAP, it's not base. Base is for everybody, but we get additional, about $5 million for supplemental, specifically to address student needs that may be in these categories. Overall, our district from DataQuest, again, another school or state dashboard, you can see the breakdown of students. This one is by ethnicity, and then also by other groups, what percentage you can see for those others. We are talking predominantly about academic performance, and here is another view that the dashboard has this year. It's different from prior years. In prior years, we would see, let me go back, we would see like an odometer or speedometer visual because they were giving us a color code of status and change. So where are we right now, and have we improved or decreased or stayed the same? But because we had a pause for several years of data with COVID, we don't have change data because we didn't have data to compare it to in the last few years. So for this year, we get mostly these purple, what they're calling like the cell phone bars. Can you hear me now? The status of where are we? Are we high, medium, and low? And in these categories, you see one of each of those. Clicking, it's very interactive on the dashboard, so you won't see in this presentation, but you can click and find out more, which are the groups of students that are high, medium, and low, and areas for further exploration. These are things that we are going deep into not only with LCAP, but also in our principal meetings, with our various staff groups, to identify and understand what it says. I am personally quite sad that the college and career indicator is not here. That's a big one for us as a high school district. But again, we would need more data, and a big part of that was CASP testing and other things that weren't available the last few years. So we're waiting for additional reports, but it has not been published and is not anticipated to be published this year for an indicator on that one. When you see here, it says English language arts high, math medium. Here's a piece of that data of how are we doing. And you can see from the prior year, we have gone down slightly. These are things we are looking into. An important piece that we're still wrapping our heads around is the penalty the state gives us on test scores if our students don't take the test. And this is the first year that we've received that penalty, that it has existed, but the state expects us to have 95% of our students take the test in 11th grade in the spring. Unfortunately, we did not meet that. We are the only district in Placer County that did not meet that 95% threshold overall. We had 94% of our students. We missed it just by a little bit, but that's 6% of our students that didn't take the test, and that does affect our scores and the way we present, not the percentages here, but it shows the high, medium, and low. That's where it affects us.
Is this didn't take by opt-out or didn't take just because they didn't take?
Our schools are looking into that specifically, but our initial review is that they didn't take it, as in they didn't show up, and it could be related to the attendance issues that we've seen, chronic attendance issues statewide. So it's that. We also have to report it for every group of students. So I will say other districts shared our difficulties in getting 95% of every student group. We're the only ones that didn't get it for the overall students. And so it's something that we're looking at very carefully. But I did want to bring that up. It's coming up to our county board is aware of this. They're getting presentations on data as well. So always want you to be aware and not surprised.
So don't call out students. Was it particular schools or is it just overall? And don't, I'm not
It's
trying
multiple.
To,
it's not all, but it's multiple. Right. So we are certainly making plans to address that and also to advertise the benefits of it to the students. I know we have an academic recognition committee that's helping us with messaging and informing. There are a lot of benefits.
Award, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so State Seal of Biliteracy requires students to take it, the Golden State Seal Merit Diploma. There are several really powerful awards that our students can earn as a result, and so we're trying to really market that value in addition to just showing what they know. Other comments or questions at this point? Now, some of this data you've seen in other ways earlier in the year. Those weren't specifically LCAP goals, so I didn't call it out, but as we have some specific LCAP goals, we wanted to call those out. CTE enrollment is one of those, so we want to increase CTE enrollment for our underrepresented groups. It's how we get grant funding as well. And we had a little dip, but you can see what our goals are, and our team is making a lot of effort. And so it's not yet, but these are our 3-year goals, so we're hopeful that we'll be making more progress on these to show you next year.
Yes. A class, or they have to do the whole pathway?
This is in pathway classes, so this is not completing, this is just enrollment.
Okay, because we're certainly adding far more CTE classes, I'm noticing.
Yes.
So that will probably take care of it.
We hope so. We're working hard on it, absolutely. And our counselors are partnering with us on this as well. So we have multiple indicators. CTE enrollment is one. Then another one is completion of pathways. Unfortunately, that data was not yet available from the state, so you don't see that one in this presentation. We're waiting on that to be certified, but that's another piece that we look at. So dual enrollment has been a big board priority, and we're really thrilled to see the growth in enrollment. These are numbers of students, not percentage. But we went in 1 year at 2 schools, dual enrollment of 186, to now having it at 5 comprehensive high schools, 5 of 6, plus at Pathways. 659 students took dual enrollment courses last year. Really pleased with that. And then in addition, you can see the enrollment by student groups, because our LCAP goal is actually related to student groups enrolled in that. And so here you can see we have actually met our goal. And I'll explain this one because it's a little confusing. Originally, our goal said 90% of all students in dual enrollment would be underrepresented groups, from underrepresented groups. That was a reasonable goal if we only had 6 classes, which we actually had at the time. We only had 6 classes in the entire district. We went from 6 to 41 the next year. And if we're growing our availability, we want all students to benefit from it. So we changed our metric goal to be proportional to the population in our district. So at the time we changed the goal, we had 22% of our students were in underrepresented groups. We thought it would be appropriate for at least 22% of the students in dual enrollment to represent, so we're proportional with our population. And we have exceeded that goal because we had 27% this past year participating. So we're always wanting to reach students that are our focus of LCAP while promoting and supporting all students. And then while they're in those classes, they are being incredibly successful. They are outperforming their traditional college peers. 95% of them are earning C's or better. And that is exactly what we want. We want this to be a very positive success for all of our students, and with the supports that our teachers are providing in our partnership with Sierra College, we are seeing those results. We do have a dual enrollment advisory committee that goes deeper into this data and monitors it throughout the year, helps to make advisement. Advanced placement and international baccalaureate is also a component of this. Last year we were asked questions about overall enrollment, so we added that in as well. So even though this wasn't a specific LCAP goal, we had goals in this category. We wanted to show this was not unusual to us, that over the pandemic there was a decrease in AP and IB enrollment. So that's something that we're aware of. We're also, with the input of our LCAP advisory committee, looking at it in total. So it's AP, IB, and dual enrollment. How are we getting these high-level learning experiences for all students? Because there may be one fit that's great for one, or one school has one versus another, and so we're trying to look at it in a package as well.
So this slide compared to the dual enrollment, I was a little confused, and forgive me, I didn't send the questions before. Is this number of seats, because that can't, because I know that's not
Correct.
Not
this is duplicated.
Okay.
This is duplicated information, yes.
Okay, but the other slide was number of students in the DE, the dual enrollment, total enrollment classes.
The other one could have been duplicated. We didn't have as many within a year.
So I was looking at the delta. I was looking at the deltas, and it looked like overall we lost, if we call them just rears and chair.
Yes.
Okay. So, but that's.
But dual
COVID
enrollment is
and-
also
okay.
duplicated. They
Okay,
were both
okay,
duplicated.
Okay. All right. Clarifying.
So then again, you can see the key cohort of students and how they were engaging with AP and IB. And the bar, the little gray bar, shows the percentage in our population. So you can see we have room to grow to have proportional representation in these. But again, maybe dual enrollment helps offset. So we're looking at ways. The data sets are not super easy to compare apples and apples, but we're working on ways, how do we visualize and look at the whole package together? So we're still working on that. And so then here comes our LCAP goal, and our actual LCAP goal in this area was to increase the enrollment of underrepresented students in AP and IB. We did not. You can see the decrease there that, again, is not uncommon from the districts around us and across the state from what we've been gathering, but it's still important for us to be aware. And we were also asked last year related to this is the pass rate. So we don't have a specific LCAP goal on this, but we did want to share it in context. How are our pass rates? And so regardless of the change in actual seat enrollment, the percentage of passing has been fairly consistent over the past few years. And again, kudos to our teachers who are working through a pandemic with all sorts of things going on to still continue with such success. Integrated math is an LCAP focus area. IM1 typically taken by 9th graders and IM2 typically taken by 10th graders. You can see we've had some ambitious goals of 8% growth over the 3 years we have not yet met. You can see some incremental growth in Integrated Math 1 and more stable in Math 2. Again, still over some very unusual years of a pandemic, but we have not yet met our goal for C or better grades. So this is an internal goal for us, and just how are our students passing these courses the first time through. The state also requires us to report annually specific data about math for 9th graders. So these next 3 slides are related to that report, SB 359, enacted several years ago, that just requires this annual report. So this is 9th graders only. In IM1, you can see the letter grades they earned by percentage. Again, that first time through. And then this one is passing the class. That would be including a D- or better. The 9th graders passing a class the first time through Integrated 1. And then the C- or better, which would be A through G eligible, passing the class with that C- or better. And we are required to report it for all of these groups. So this is information that we look at with our administrators, with our teacher teams, and see how can we support all students in these courses. Back to our LCAP goals, NGSS, so the Next Generation Science Standards, biology. So when the state standards changed a few years ago, we updated our courses, and we set an LCAP goal at the time for students earning C- or better in that biology course. And we have met the goal for increasing those grades in biology. And then overall, and then we're still working on the individual groups within that. We have smaller targets, and you can see the summary of that data. Science has a state test associated, CAST, the California Science Test, and it's a newer test. We've had the math and English around for a while. This one's on the newer side. And you can see where our scores are there. So we decreased by 1% with our baseline, which was the first main year post-pandemic that we've been giving that, and we have an ambitious goal in that category. English learner reclassification, we have an ambitious goal of increasing that rate by 3% each year. We did not make it, we did go down. And we have been updating our protocols and approaches in this quite a bit, so we're looking forward to seeing that go back up, including some of the things that you saw in the EL roadmap and our master plan. Some of the qualifications and identification protocols have been updated. So thank you to our teacher teams who've been looking at that to make sure we can help all of our students progress. So this is part of it. This is reclassification. There are 4 parts to reclassification. One of those parts is this particular test, is scoring on the LPAC. That's the EL assessment that they take annually, and we want to increase their scores. By state law, they have to get a 4, which is the highest score, to be able to reclassify. So being able to meet these goals is important for the other goal as well. And we have not met our goal, but we are working on that. And one other goal that has been a board priority historically is inside-out coaching with our administrators, our athletic coaches, athletic directors, and folks who work with our students in that capacity. And we have all of our athletic directors trained. We're working on continuing to train our site administrators and they're working on subsequent goals of getting all the coaches. We have many coaches, many of whom are not our full-time staff, so it's an ambitious goal to get all of that coordinated, but we are making progress, and the leaders of our programs at the sites are trained and are implementing these components. So that is a lot of information and not everything. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have now or dialogue further. Again, we crave your direction and insight especially as we go forward with adjusting or re-identifying those priorities.
Questions? Board members, any questions?
I feel like that was a lot of information, so I feel like any question I had got covered. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions.
Board members, any questions, comments,
I asked
concerns?
Thank you for all that.
I have just a general question that you don't have to answer right now. I'm looking at the math, and I know we've talked about math a lot, and I've asked you a lot of math questions, but with on slide 11, and you don't have to go back to it, but it says 38.6 below standard. Is that versus the state, or is that saying that that's where the state is?
Good question. We're actually not that far from the state, but I don't have the number offhand. The state has set this arbitrary DFS, distance from standard, where our kids should be, but that doesn't mean that's where the state average is. It's just where the state says they would be on grade level. So that's where they do some calculations, and the distance from standard is also where they give us the penalty. So we're doing this data dive to understand how much was that penalty, because as we're finding, like, it would actually affect, if you dive into some of our school level reports, some of our schools, the students actually earned higher. They weren't in a low category, they're actually in medium or high, but that penalty for participation kicked it down a level, so.
Oh, well. So
But I can
did-
provide you the state comparisons.
Well, I think, so I printed off the school site reports, and I think our district, would it be the 39% or not, did not achieve, no, did achieve?
Yes.
Okay, so.
39% met or
Were
exceeded the standards on the test. The DFS, the distance from standard, is a little bit awkward, so we usually go with the 39% of who did meet standards.
And the state was 33, is what.
Where
this
we.
Okay. And I get, my broader question really is just, if the state as a whole recognizes, like, gosh, schools are struggling with math, does the state as a whole implement a plan or address that issue, or is it really just left to an individual district to say, hey, we as a district need help with math and we're going to implement that plan? Or is the state kind of...
Great question. And it's a little bit of both. And especially at the high school level, I mean, you heard it at the board workshop, the state doesn't mandate what adoptions we do or what exactly we do, but they provide guidance, typically in the form of a framework. The interesting thing is the math framework has been highly contested over the past couple of years. And so it was anticipated to actually be out about 2 years ago originally, and has been delayed multiple times and still isn't out. So where we would typically go for research-based guidance and recommendations from the state level, at least, it's not yet published, and that was the contested piece. So we're anticipating it's coming out, but I couldn't say when. It keeps changing. So we haven't had that clarity, at least from what the state thinks is good.
This information, I love that you love doing it. I like how I love that Joe loves doing it. Like,
Any other questions? All right, this is just an informational item. Thank you very much. Our next item is 5.4, which is the 2023-24 budget purposes, constraints, and guidelines.
Yes, thank you. This is, we're officially entering budget season for 2023-24, and so these are one of the first items we do. This is not a requirement by the state, but it's something we've done in our district for many, many years, where we have a document. It's called the Budget Purposes, Constraints, and Guidelines, and so I look at that document each year, maybe make some updates, and this is an information item where I present it to the board, some of the changes I made, and then we also collect feedback from the public and our board for any changes, as well as we send it to the unions and solicit their feedback. And it's really just a document we use that kind of sets the framework for our budget development process. So I made a couple changes in here. One I'll just point out with the new pension trust. Due to what the board has advised, and we've started that pension trust. I put that in the document, some additional language about how we've developed that trust now. Before it said we will develop, now we've developed it, and so I adjusted the language there, and as well the policy that we're going to contribute a minimum of 25% of any annual savings into that trust. So I addressed that, and with that, I would be happy to answer any questions or solicit any feedback.
Just on that language for the 115 trust,
Mm-hmm.
would it make sense to add in there on where it says the board may consider further contributions and it goes on to one time? Would it make sense to put in there some language about managing reserve fund balances? As we spoke about earlier, we know we're going to be having caps and how that might be, because if we stay by this strictly, I don't know if it gives us the flexibility, but I know this isn't binding.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important that we sort of project out what our intents are. We've talked about that a number of times. So I just want to get your feedback on that.
Yep, I'm open to that. Did you have any particular language, or are you talking about around the 10% reserve cap, or?
I don't know if I'd call it out by 10%, just as a tool for managing reserve fund balances. I'm very confident that you come up with wording that would reflect that.
Okay.
Questions, concerns, comments? Just information, so you're not looking for anything other than that feedback, right?
Correct, and I plan to bring this back at a February board meeting for adoption, and then that will move forward with our budget process.
Wonderful, thank you. So we do have to return to closed session for a number of items, and then after that, we will be coming back into open session to report out, number one, what we did in closed session, then there's a couple of items in closed session that will require an open session vote. That would be items 2.6 through 2.9, I believe. So members of the public, you're welcome to go hang out outside if you want to come back and hear about what we did. It shouldn't take too long. I anticipate probably 15 minutes if you have any interest in that. But by all means, none of you are obligated to stay for that if you don't want to, including the principals. You don't have to stay for that part if you don't want to. But we are going to say you don't have to stay, but you can't stay here either. So you got to go out at least out to the hallway.
If you don't come back.
Okay. So, we, a lot of public here, but the board met in closed session. Item 2.4 was dropped. Item 2.4, upon motion by Hall, second by France, the board took action to deny an employee request for unpaid leave. Items 2.6 through 2.9 were discussed in closed session and we'll be taking action now in open session. First item is 2.6, pupil personnel. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the stipulated expulsion order. Is that how you want me to phrase it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Do we have a second? We have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. And opposed, that passes 4-0 with one absent. 2.7, pupil personnel. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the stipulated expulsion order.
We have a motion. Is there a second? And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. None opposed. That passes 4-0-1. Item 2.8, pupil personnel. Do I have a motion?
I will motion to approve the stipulated expulsion order.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. That passes 4-0-1. Item 2.9, pupil personnel. Do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve the stipulated expulsion order.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0-1. With that, we move on to pending agenda items, which you have listed in your agenda. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is February 9th here at the district office. Do we have any comments from, most staff's not here. Any staff comments to close out the day?
Just appreciate our teachers and Teacher of the Year, and I also walk campuses usually 2 days a week, so I know several of you have that as part of your goal. I would love to partner with you, so I'll send some dates, but if you'd like to partner in those walks, I'm happy to do so.
Great. You already got a chance to speak, John, so you're gonna be able to know. Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
No, I was asking for a
Okay,
motion to adjourn.
Oh. I motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Yeah. I think I heard a second. So we have a motion, a second. All in favor of going home, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Yes. Here's our 3.